But the one we are talking about at the moment is Manchester City against Real Madrid. First leg of the Champions League knockout phase. It's live on talkSPORT. Carlo Ancelotti against Pep Guardiola. They've met a few times in recent European campaigns. Yesterday, Guardiola was asked whether a rivalry has formed over the last few years.
I don't think so. We are in this, I would say in the last years, yes. You know, we play 4 times together. We have good results, bad results. But we won 4, draw 3, lost 1, but at the end it was 2-2 go through. So in terms of the last decade, years, yeah, maybe, because it's not normal to play in the same rival all the time. But in terms of history, Champions League, at the end we cannot compare, to be honest. So against Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona or Milan or this time of groups, elite groups that we have not been from the history, you know. In the last decade we have been around, but of course in the last years it's I don't know, the draw all the times we play against them.
Let's get more on this by bringing in the Guardian's Manchester correspondent Jamie Jackson. Morning, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Good morning, good morning.
I mean, it's interesting Pep describing City this season as unstable. They are getting some players back, but what would be a good outcome for them tonight?
Well, obviously a victory. I don't think a draw is a disaster, but you know, we all know about the firepower of Real Madrid, the front four, sort of led by Mbappe, Bellingham, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo. I mean, this is actually a tale in a way of both teams' kind of dodgy or patched up defences, because Real Madrid are missing 4 or 5 senior defenders, and City, well, I mean, you know, Diaz is back, for example. He spoke yesterday. I was sitting there when him and Guardiola spoke. But that defence is very shaky. Every time, or most times, an opponent, as we saw at the weekend, actually, Leyton Orient, come at City, you think, could be a bit shaky here, could concede. They do not want to lose this game, obviously. I mean, you know, you go to the Bernabeu, the second leg. I've got a feeling they might get through this just because Guardiola, this is going to be very difficult, don't get me wrong, but Guardiola, he's up for this. It might be the sort of game in which those players who have been a bit shaky, who aren't always regulars, I'm thinking like someone like, say, Núñez, sort of come to the party, come of age a little bit in a Manchester City shirt and somehow get through. But it's going to be fascinating, isn't it? I'm lucky enough to be there this evening and I cannot wait. I've seen or been at most of the sort of, you know, 4 ties they've had recently, the last 5 years, home and away. And they're always tight. You know, both teams have gone through twice. It was at the penalty shootout they lost last season at the Etihad. You know, a difficult night for Manchester City. And Guardiola, you know, he talks about them being unstable, and he's right. But at the same time, he will say something like that to the media, to people like me and, you know, the public. It's a bit of a message to Real Madrid to sort of say, oh, you know, we're not as good as we were, which is obviously a fact. But in the dressing room, he will be saying to them, come on, we can beat this lot. You are good enough. You're the treble winners of 2 seasons ago. You know, De Bruyne is on his way back. Played very well, didn't he, to score that goal. So, you know, I think I think one of your sort of correspondents said it's a 50-50. I'd give it 60-40 in Real Madrid's case because they're at home second, but City have got a great chance.
Jamie, is it an opportunity for Haaland, who hasn't got a particularly great record against Real Madrid of getting goals? Well, tonight he's playing up against Tchouaméni and Raul, who's a 21-year-old centre-half, and Tchouaméni's a midfielder but can play in defence. No Rudiger, no Milito. Is this a golden opportunity for Haaland tonight?
100%, Tony. I don't think he's scored or made any assists in sort of, I think it's 4 or 5 games against Real Madrid for Manchester City. It is. And also what you're talking about there is getting, you know, I think he needs to be linked up more with, you know, got into the game more basically. De Bruyne, if he could start, will obviously help that, you know, those two. But yeah, I mean, Haaland is a phenomenal player. We all know that. But for example, Champions League final when they won it against Inter, he didn't really do too much. You know, so there's a little bit of a, you know, in the proper big games, can he turn up on a consistent basis? So yeah, listen, if they get Haaland in, he will score. And you know, Real Madrid won't fancy facing him. It's the classic one. What player do you, or what players do you not want to see in the team sheet? And he's one of them. De Bruyne is another. So, you know, if those two walk out tonight at the Etihad, they've got a fine chance. And obviously Haaland definitely will. So, yeah, I you know, there's going to be a time and place when he will kill a Real Madrid team, Haaland, for City. And it may well be tonight and, you know, next week at the Bernabeu.
I've got to be careful because Steve, who's a Man City fan, says that I hate Man City. But I'm going to ask the next question nevertheless. Does the fact that Real are so short of defenders, does that mean they're all the more likely to go with Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo and Mbappe?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this front four, 3 of those players, started the Champions League final that they won last season. Obviously, Mbappe wasn't there. And I think at the time, and since he's joined, he scored like 22 goals and made, a number of assists. And this was after apparently he made a dodgy or a difficult start at Real Madrid. So, he scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final. I mean, it's great, isn't it, to be able to say all this stuff about players who are going to be City this evening. It could be a glittering tie, this. I mean, there's other great teams in it, but whoever gets through is going to have a good chance of going all the way. Obviously, Real Madrid have the sort of ongoing pedigree, but City themselves are now streetwise in this competition. I think Ancelotti will start them all. And again, let's just talk about Ancelotti. I mean, he's one of the all-time great managers for me, coaches. This guy has got a phenomenal record.
Yeah,
and he's very clever. And he did sort of say that going up against Pep Guardiola, they use the word nightmares because Guardiola's so innovative. But Ancelotti himself is a smart cookie, and I think they both sort of respect each other a lot, and they should do.
Yeah, Jamie, on the other side of Manchester, a bit more trouble, but New Zealand Rugby have taken legal action against Manchester United's co-owners, INEOS and Sir Jim Radcliffe, his company, and they've reneged on a deal. So more trouble for INEOS and Radcliffe.
Yeah, apparently, well, not apparently, it's reported that they still have 3 years to go of this deal sponsoring the All Blacks, New Zealand, and they pulled out of it. They haven't made the first payment for this sort of calendar year 2025. I'm not too sure why. They will obviously have their reasons, and hopefully it will come out. But you just don't know, the yachting thing with the America's Cup, Ben Aisley, INEOS, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and obviously you've got the sort of, how can I say it, the challenge of their tenure or Ratcliffe's ownership of Manchester United. So it's more sort of interesting news coming out of INEOS. So, we may well know more today as this story develops. But it's a little bit interesting that the All Blacks, New Zealand, obviously a massive name brand, and their lawyers will know what they're doing. It's sort of taking them to court in essence, or threatening to. Yeah. So, if you're a United fan, which I'm not, but if you're a United fan, you must be looking at that thinking, is this more sort of the same kind of thing? They got rid of Dan Ashworth after 5 months. Ten Hag gets sacked in October after keeping him, backing him with £200 million in the summer. So it's not going, it's a bit rocky, and I'm being polite how it's going so far.
Jamie, thanks very much indeed. Enjoy tonight.
Cheers,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.